Hey, good morning. It's Dr. James. I do hope and pray this message finds you and your loved ones peaceful, thriving, and well. And this morning, I had the most wonderful realization, and it came because of you asking a question. A couple of days ago, one of our community members said, "Hey, James, can you give me an idea of what I should be looking for when it comes to the spiritual path and whether or not I'm having success?" She said, when I was a younger person, an aspirant on the spiritual path, starting to do meditation, starting to do the inner work, I always thought it was about, it's all about happiness. So when you're on a spiritual path or you're becoming more spiritual, you should be happier and happier. And eventually you are happy all the time. And I said, not to dismiss the beautiful inspiration of being happy all the time, I don't know if that's the goal of spirituality, unless being happy is being connected to growth. And then absolutely it is about happiness. There's no question. I think many of us, if not all of us these days as spiritual beings, are finding ourselves more and more going, wow, happiness in the definition of my happiness has become so much bigger than it used to be. I remember when I was in my early 20s, I was living in a spiritual community. I was learning about meditation. I was fully all in. I was reading everything. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, you know what? This is all about being happy. As someone who was coming out of a lifestyle of addiction and a lot of drama and trying to figure out how I could heal so much of my worthiness issue, I was like, oh, this is all about getting happy. And I just want to be happy. And I got to tell you, the last 30 years, and in particular these last few years, I'm realizing more and more, my happiness is totally connected to my level of courage when it comes to leaning into the edges of my life where my growth needs to happen. And I feel so much about what our spiritual work is today is to really not be afraid of where our growth areas are. Where the self-compassion needs the work to soften our edges, where the self-awareness or where our very subtle judgments are coming up about ourselves and others, especially during this politically charged time. And what's so beautiful is if we're not all about just, what we would believe to be the definition of happiness and what it means, oh, I'm happy, everything is great, and oh my goodness, life is just happy. I don't think that's spirituality. In fact, I, with all due respect, I think that's missing the point of spirituality. Spirituality is 100% about growth, 100% about the evolution, 100% about discovering your gifts, your talents, and the way that you can show up for them to help all beings rise into their growth as well. And that is not always easy, especially these days where it is so easy to find ourselves falling short when we see something that pushes all our non-spiritual buttons, which underneath that is deeply spiritual because we're feeling what we believe is morally right, is value-centered, is really coming from love, really about the teachings of the great teachers of spirituality. So when you work on yourself and you're thinking it's about happiness, maybe it might be helpful. This has really been super helpful for me. Giving myself the opportunity to realize anytime I'm in the growth place, that should be equated to being happy. And happy doesn't mean that I am carefree. It doesn't mean that things are perfect. It just means that I am perfectly careful about how it is that I'm seeing my space in the world and whether or not I'm open to feeling and growing and realizing and becoming the person that I believe is spiritually awake. That's my happiness. Being awake, being aware, and understanding there's going to be a lot of dark stuff that comes with that. But as long as I don't run away from it, I'm growing. Understanding that when I am in a space where I'm seeing an area where I could go into judgment or diminishment, I hold myself high in love and know that that in of itself is happiness. Happiness doesn't have shame. Happiness has no blame. Happiness is when we stand in the fire and we don't turn down our light. We rise into it, we lean into it, we learn from it, and we become more because of it. Yes, that's what makes me happy as a spiritual person. And it's so much better than it was what I thought it was going to be 30 plus years ago. It's sustainable, it's deep, and it's rich. And it just doesn't take care of me. It helps me to take care of those that I love, and even the ones that I don't know that I need to love. But I know I need to love. I think you know what I mean. So with that, I much appreciate the great work that we're doing together. And I wish you deep love and happiness on your spiritual path. Peace and blessings. Bye for now.